guys, welcome back or welcome to my channel if you are new here. For today's video we're going to be doing my January wrap up. Now I have actually already filmed this, but my sound didn't work and I thought my mic was broken, and then it turned out it just wasn't plugged in properly. So here we are, a week into February, refilming it. So January was, in terms of like quantity, I was quite happy with how many I read. I read 6 or 7, which I was quite happy with considering I was slumping quite late on into last year. So starting off the year well really put me in a good mood for reading. The books I read weren't the best quality, but I have had a fun time reading all of them. There haven't been any that I rated low purely because I hated them, and honestly if I was hating them I would have just DNF'd them, because I'm not here to waste my time reading books that I don't enjoy. So without rambling, let's just get on to what I read. So the first book I read was Haunting Adeline by H.D. Carlton, which follows a girl who inherits her grandmother's manor, and she ends up getting basically stalked by this man who she thinks is a paranormal entity or being at first, but it turns out to just be a crazy guy. Not really crazy, but it just turns out to be a human. I don't really want to spoil too much in case you haven't read it. There are many trigger warnings to this book, so if it is something you have heard about and you're interested in, please read those first. It is a dark romance, it is a stalker romance, but honestly the storyline underneath the dark stuff, it's still dark, but it kind of brings awareness to something that is very real, and that's the part that I enjoyed. Well, I didn't enjoy it, but that's the part that like kept me reading. I did rate it a 2-star purely because there was something about the writing style. I don't know what it was, I cannot put my finger on it, but there was something about the writing style that really made me struggle to read more than the chapter at the time. Like, I don't even know, it wasn't like it was super flowery, super lyrical, super dense. There was just something about the writing style that didn't agree with me, and that's okay. I'm not saying it was a bad writing style, it obviously wasn't like the best, but it wasn't like awful. There was just something that was really making me, like, my eyes, my brain really struggle to read it, and I don't know what that is, but because of that it took me longer than it should have to get through the book, and that's when it started to drag. I gave it less than like 4 because on the whole it wasn't like a great book, but I had a fun time while I read it. The characters are very morally grey and that has a fun aspect to it. The romance side was very much there, but again, please read the trigger warnings before you go into this, because otherwise I just don't want anyone getting unnecessarily triggered, because it is a dark romance. But I obviously enjoyed it enough because I then carried on to the next one of the duet, which is Hunting Adeline, which is honestly the better of the two. Something happens in the end of the first one which turns our main character into such a baddie in the second one, and it's like a full-on revenge plot, and I absolutely loved it. I was totally here for it. It's still super dark, still has those content warnings, but I was just like here for it. So that one I did give a 3-star because I did enjoy that one more, and there's some characters in here. There's one character in particular which is so fun, absolutely crazy, but she is such a fun vibe. And then because I enjoyed those two, I went on to read the character that I'm talking about. I read her spin-off, which is about her leading up to the events of Haunting Adeline, and I really enjoyed it. It was a novella though, so I only gave it a 2-star. If there had been more of it, I could definitely have bumped it up to a 3. It was a fun time. It was a wild ride of a book, but definitely if you enjoy Haunted, if you've read the duet, the cat and mouse duet, please read Satan's Affair, because it's just so fun. It's so fun. That's like all I can say about it. Then I read Never Lie by Frida McFadden. This was our book club pick for January, which follows 2 newlyweds that go to, they're searching for a house to buy, and they go to this manor that was owned by a psychiatrist, and then all these like spooky things happen. There's like a murder mystery, and I can't give too much away because it is a thriller. You don't want to know too much before you go into it. If you've read Frida McFadden before, you will probably like this. If you liked her other work, I am on such a Frida vibe at the moment. Every like other book I read is by her at this point. It's a nice break from all the fantasy that I read and the romance. So I do enjoy her books. I find them very easy to read, very fast paced as well. So I did give that one a 4-star. I did really enjoy that one. And I actually I did see the twist coming, but there was enough, like, she's just so good at the whole red herrings and leading you down paths so you think you know what's going on, and then it does a U-turn and you're like, oh, okay, maybe I don't. And yeah, I just really enjoy her writing, and she's probably one of my favorite, like, thriller mystery writers at the moment. And so many of her books are on Kindle Unlimited as well, so they're literally like ready for me to pick up whenever I am ready for it. Then I read Caraval, which I gave 3 stars. If you don't know what Caraval is, it's by Stephanie Garber. It is a trilogy, and it's set before the Once Upon a Broken Heart series, which I've only read the first one of. And Caraval is about a game that comes to the world, realm, I don't really know what it is, isle. It travels around and it only comes to like this one place once. And our main characters are like in a house with an abusive father, and they just want to basically escape reality. The older sister is ready to like get out of here. The younger sister is married or betrothed to someone that she's never even met. She has no idea who this person is, but she's like, this is my way to get me and my sister out. But what she doesn't realise is that she's probably just going to take them into the same situation but with a husband instead of a father. So she writes to the master behind the Caraval, basically begging him to like come to town so they can go to the Caraval. And I believe he doesn't come to them, but he does send them an invite to one that's like further away. So reluctantly, the younger sister does say, okay, we'll go. And they go, and Caraval is this big game. There is a prize at the end. It varies, the games vary, and honestly the world of Caraval is so like whimsical, and I like truly felt like I was in Alice in Wonderland, in like a Candyland. It was just like very whimsical, not very like high fantasy, very whimsical fantasy, soft fantasy. And I'm still trying to decide if that's for me, which is another reason why I gave it a 3, because I'm not sure if that's the vibe for me. I didn't like Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, which I thought I was going to love. I did not. But this one I did like a bit more, and I am interested to carry on the series, so I probably will. And then I want to finish off Once Upon a Broken Heart, because I did actually really enjoy that book. I just didn't know if I cared enough to continue that trilogy, but I've heard that it just gets better. So, and the same with Caraval. So I am going to finish both of those series off at some point. But yeah, so I did actually have a good time. It's just, I'm still deciding if it's for me. Then I read A Hue of Blue by Marie-France Leisure. I'm not sure how you pronounce their last name, sorry. And this is a romance, and I saw some highlights and stuff on TikTok, and I was sold, basically. That's like how it happened. Honestly, this book reached into my soul and healed things that I thought I was healed from. Honestly, I related so hard to the entirety of this book that I felt like I was reading my life story. Like, and that's not me saying that everything that happened in the book happened to me. It did not at all. They're not even remotely like the same, but the sort of topics and the things that are discussed and the way things happen are so relevant to my younger years that I felt so attached to this book. Again, this isn't like literary masterpiece at all. It's well written. I found it so easy to read. I really didn't want it to end, to be honest. And I also love the fact that our author included an ending, a bonus ending, for those of us that wanted the happier ending, because this book isn't really a happy ever after. It could be, but you don't know. The way it leaves off can be interpreted in like many different ways, but they added another bonus chapter where if you wanted that happy ever after, if that was the way you took the book, you could read that. And I really appreciated that. So I did give this book a 4-star. It was very nearly a 5-star because of all the feels that I went through when I read it. I've just realised I've told you all of this and not even told you what it's about. It basically follows Blue and Jace, who are basically obsessed with each other, but not in a very healthy way. and their relationship takes many different turns. It repeats itself constantly, and honestly, if this had been in any other book, I probably would have got tired of the repetitiveness, but it was so realistic to how some more toxic relationships happen that I just completely understood it. I honestly, this book just spoke to my soul, and I'm so grateful that I read it. And it's not that often that I feel that way about a contemporary romance, of all things. So that being said, that was definitely my top book of the month, and this is not like a traditionally published book either. She's literally on TikTok, and I saw pictures of the pages on TikTok, thought that looks like a bit of me, read it, and now I'm obsessed. And I don't think anything's going to top that. And then the 7th book, I haven't finished yet, but I started reading Onyx Storm in January, and it has dragged and dragged and dragged. So I can't really include that in the wrap up, but I did start it in January, so I'd just like to let you know a couple of my thoughts. In the beginning, I had no idea what was going on. No idea. And that might be on me because I didn't read a recap. I didn't watch any recaps on YouTube, and I read Iron Flame like when it came out last year, so it's been a while. But I thought I had a good understanding of where we were at in the story. But then they were speaking about things, and I was like, what? And then there's a bunch of new characters, as if we didn't have enough to follow. And it was just dragging and dragging and dragging. I will say that now I've reached over halfway. I'm actually more like 70%, but once I got to like halfway, things did kind of make more sense. Things are coming together. I'm kind of more here for it now. But in the beginning, like 40%, I was struggling, which is why I'm still reading it, because I was just like, I don't know if I can do this. I actually don't know if I can read it, but we're at a good place now. However, I did have the ending spoiled, so I'm not really sure where to go from here, to be honest with you. But yeah, that is everything that I read in January and my thoughts. Please let me know what you read in January and what you thought about it. I want to know all about your faves, your DNFs, everything. Give me the tea. I want to talk to you about it. If you've read anything that I liked that you hated, tell me why. I love those discussions. I love it when some people feel so strongly about a book one way and then other people feel like the complete opposite. I love it because everyone interprets books different ways, so there isn't really a right or wrong answer. If you don't like it, you don't like it. If you love it, you love it. I'm obsessed with The Hue of Blue, but there's probably people that are reading it like, this is the worst love story ever. And I'm like, okay, but I relate to that. It kind of reminds me of like Magnolia Parks. If you've read that, then you know. But yeah, so please give me all the tea. If you like this video, please give us a big thumbs up because it really, really helps. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button before you leave. Bye guys!